Hi, everyone, and welcome to Music Industry Talks second edition. As you tune in, let us know where you're from in the comments below. And don't forget to share and like the video so that more people can see it. If it's your first time watching our webinars or hearing about Syncopated Noize Foundation, I will just give you a little bit of background about who we are and what we do. We are a nonprofit organization that promotes Canadian emerging musicians through events and educational activities like Music Industry Talks. The focus of the second edition of Music Industry Talks is to spotlight Canadian artists and music industry professionals of underserved communities to share their stories and help the industry stay connected during the global pandemic. I would like to take a moment to thank Factor Canada for making this event possible and free for everyone to attend, as well as VAMS, Vancouver Adapted Music Society, another great nonprofit that supports and promotes musicians with physical disabilities in the Vancouver area. VAMS operates the only adapted music studio in Western Canada, located in BC's largest rehabilitation hospital. I will now leave you to our host for today's episode, Pamela Dennis. Thank you for being here with us today.
I'm going to unmute myself. That's going to be super helpful. So hello, everybody. Thank you, Alessia and Syncopated Noize, for having me as a guest host. And I'd like to introduce myself. So I am Pamela Dennis, and I've had the chance to work with many artists and vocalists and toured the world while doing it. I'm lucky to have been able to organize events and music business networking events, which allowed me to support and connect with industry professionals and artists in various communities. I'm currently a freelance music marketing consultant, and today I'm here with our guest, Mark Ash. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you.
So just to give you a little background on Mark, he entered the Vancouver music scene in the early 80s and studied bass with legend René Worst, who played with Chet Baker, Joe Pass, Freddie Hubbard, and Anderson. And Mark toured Canada and the US toward the 90s from 91 to 97, where he also owned and operated the New York Theater on Commercial Drive in Vancouver. So in December 2001, Mark suffered a serious brain injury in a car accident, which left him partially paralyzed, unable to walk and talk. He spent 3 months in hospital and 6 months at a rehabilitation center to finally be told that there was nothing more that could be done for him. So his prognosis led his family to take power of attorney and sell his assets. He was put into a group home, and that's when Mark decided to take his own recovery into his own hands. And with a lot of work, persistence, and with the healing power of music, he managed to put his life back together. So thank you for joining us, Mark.
My pleasure.
Can you tell us how you were introduced to music, and do you remember when and how old you were when you
Sure. Well, my mother was a music teacher in Russia, in Moscow. She finished the Russian conservatory on piano, so we always had music at home. So when I came to Canada, there was so much freedom. In Russia, even Beatles and Rolling Stones was illegal. But then during communism, they didn't want people to hear music. All the music was censored, and every song had to go through committee and be judged. So Russian music and Western music are a lot different, but the notes and the melodies are the same. So when I came here, I joined the band in high school. I grew my hair, and it was all good.
You're a rock star.
For a while.
So did you pursue at what point did you pursue education in music?
After school, my father made me join the army to make me a man. In the army, I played the snare drum. When they raised the flag in the morning, I got to play snare. And after 6 months, I began to play guitar and bass. And obviously, because of my influences, I really like Paul McCartney and Geddy Lee. So for all of you bass players out there, you know what I mean.
That's really interesting. So can you talk to us a bit about your music? Actually, I listened to a bit of your music. It's very, very groovy, actually. I listened to Let It Rain. Can you tell us about this song?
Well, it's about Vancouver. It always rains here. I have lots of different songs, and that's a song I did recently with my good friend, Stan Ganapolsky, who plays an HB concept. He is a very good producer. And there's many ways of doing a song. That's only one version. But a good song could be done in many ways. But I'll tell you, to me, when you work in a studio with music, especially nowadays, when you can see it on the screen, all the frequencies, all the rhythms, music is 100% math. Everything has to work together. At the same time, it's 100% soul, how it makes you feel. That's what music is to me. It's the feeling and the accuracy of putting it together like a puzzle.
Very interesting. Can you tell us what was a pivotal moment in your life that brought you to touring Canada?
Well, I don't think it was a pivotal moment. It's like baby steps. Opportunities come up, and nothing is for certain. You just have to make your own destiny. You make your own choices in life and see where it takes you. But I don't think there was any pivotal. For me, I guess my accident was the pivotal moment. That was a big reality check.
Yeah.
When I ended up in the hospital, I couldn't move my fingers. I couldn't speak. I was trapped in my own body. And that's when you check with yourself.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Can you tell us who did you tour with? Which bands did you tour with? What kind of situation was it when you were touring around Canada? Because I can imagine that must have been a very exciting time at the same time in your career.
Absolutely. It was a different world.
Yeah.
It was very loud. There was no noise control. People were allowed to smoke in bars. The stage, upper stage, it was always smoking. It was just different. For example, when we met to Alberta, drinking age is only 18. So a lot of girls and young boys with fake IDs get in clubs and party. And we didn't have like driving laws or cell phone laws or vapes. We had to roll our own.
It's a different time.
But my recovery was not only me. I had a lot of help along the way. And it's important for somebody who's recovering to find help. For me, it was first after the group home, I went to a place called Pathways in Richmond. They were CMHA. And I met some very good people who helped me get better. My friend Carmen Gaylor, she submitted my story for a Courage to Come Back award. It's a big award in BC. And behind me, I don't know if you can see it, there's a medal. And it was very exciting. So I guess that was also a pivotal moment. It was in 2010.
Oh, for you, that was also, of course, it's also a pivotal moment for you.
Yes.
Because recognize, I mean, I can't imagine what you've been through, and it was very inspirational to see that even after, all the doctors saying that there was nothing that could be done for you, you found the courage. It's exactly that, to work on yourself when it seemed nearly impossible. So my question to you is, where did you find the strength to pick yourself back up?
Well, I educated myself. After a couple of years, I didn't see much progress in my recovery. Every night I would pray, just make one finger work. Show me that you love me. Show me in the morning. But that's a miracle. Miracles happen instantly. Recovery is baby steps.
Yeah.
And I learned how brain works, or I learned about neuroplasticity, how brain can heal itself. That's why doctors are limited to what they can do. It's the body itself that needs to heal. Doctors can only give you bandage, like painkillers and sleeping pills. But go ahead.
How did music come into play to provide that healing capacity for you?
Okay, when I could not speak for 5 years, I will listen a lot to every genre of music. And what happens in our body, when one sense is diminished, other senses will elevate and try to compensate. So my ear improved. That part of the brain, they did scans of people that listen to music, and that part of the brain lights up and begins to fire.
Wow.
It builds more neurons in that area, and that's called neuroplasticity. And we build new pathways in the brain. And you know how to say muscle memory. Your muscle will remember. That memory is actually rooted in the brain. Brain sends out signals to your muscles and through tendons to your bones. So people really take health for granted. When everything works, we don't think about it. But as soon as one finger doesn't work, you know it.
Absolutely,
So
that's a reminder.
education is the best way. And recovery to me is like a puzzle. It's not one thing. It's like nutrition, exercise, sleep, detoxification, and creativity. You can be creative in many ways. You can paint, you can cook. So we need the stimulus.
How did your music change from a result of your, how did it grow with you from, before the accident, when you decided that you wanted to move your fingers and pick up the bass again? How did that reflect in your music?
Good question. I'm glad you asked me that. Okay, and when I first began playing, we lived in the different worlds. We lived in the analog world. We didn't have digital. people had to play. But when the digital world came out, computers could play your ideas. If you can tell the computer what you're thinking, and that's how I was able to do music and make it more better and more precise and more sophisticated. I rely on technology. And that's where VAMS comes in. VAMS have awesome studio for many different abilities. I look at it as differently able, not disabled. You might not be able to do some things that he has, but you can do some other things.
That's very interesting, actually. Can you tell us a bit more about VAMS and the work that you've done with them?
Sure. VAMS, I began with VAMS before they had the studio. They were just building it. But once Graham came as an engineer and a producer, it really took off. Because Graham has a good knowledge of music, and he has a good way to communicate with people. So it's important for people like me to be able to relate my ideas to somebody who can do it on computer. And that's where VAMS came in. And they set up different vans. I got to play with some really good people. And it's a very healthy environment. I'll tell you one thing. When we have a band and there's 5 people with disabilities playing, when we're playing, we don't have disability. We lose it. We just make music. And when you play music, you concentrate on your part and you're not thinking about your problems or your bills or Corona, or you're just focusing on music. And that's, it's priceless. You can't buy that.
It's therapy in itself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very nice. Can you tell me, I listened to a few of your songs and very groovy. And I was wondering, what genre do you fit in? There's a bit of R&B, some funk, some. Can you tell us a bit about your music genre, your style, and who inspires you?
Well, I have many genres in music. When I was growing up, I really liked the band Queen. And Queen had they had 4 separate, it was like 4 bands in one. Every guy wrote, and maybe that's why. And I can appreciate good talent in anything. So I like all genres if it's done well. I'm still new to like that new music. I forgot the name. Dubstep.
Oh, yeah, that's a crazy.
But still, it's a genre. Some people get it, some don't, and it's all good.
Absolutely. Is there any person or artist that you're listening to now that's more current? Is there anybody today that inspires you?
Not a particular. I like all the classics. I mean, and I'll tell you, before my accident, I spoke perfect English. My accent came back when I began to speak again, because those memories are rooted deeper in the brain. So when the damage occurred, all the new, fresh memories were damaged. My Russian language rooted deeper in the brain. And that's why I sound like I just got off a boat. So look, we're a machine. We're a biological machine with lots of chemistry, and all that needs to work right. You can feel low energy and depressed. But if you eat good and you sleep, exercise, you will improve yourself. And that goes for anything.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm curious to know, like, I mean, you face a huge challenge in your life, and you seem to have that positive attitude about life and this can-do attitude about life, and you don't take no for an answer. That's the type of person that I'm seeing you to be. Um, did you face any other challenges? That's a big one already.
Well,
Yeah.
I face many challenges, even like taking public transit at first, even like going for coffee.
Right.
That would be my one day dedicated to just go out and get the coffee. So yeah, if it's all baby steps.
Yeah.
There's challenges all around us.
Do you know of any other musicians who went through a similar thing like you? Paralysis, and they had to learn either to learn to play the instrument again?
Well, every injury is different.
Right.
VAMS have many artists who have a nerve damage or brain damage. So I met with lots of people. They might not be exactly like mine, but there's many people who use music as their doctor. I sure did, and I listened to my doctor.
Yeah. I noticed you have a song called Little Flu, and
Yes.
it kind of made me laugh because it's extremely current. And you're officially part of the family of artists who wrote a COVID themed song in the world. And you're mentioned in your song, you mentioned that COVID has gotten the world upside down, which, everybody had to change gears. Can you tell me how COVID has affected your art and your creativity?
Well, first of all, I'll tell you how the song came about. Graham asked us, Vance artists, to write a song about COVID. And so I began to think, but in isolation, I had more time to practice. I had to clean more, cook more. I had to, I can't have anybody over to jam with. I tried doing some musical line, but that's limiting. I can't wait till it's over so I can play with people. I can do stuff. Yeah, COVID is terrible.
Yeah, I really hope that we're all hoping the same thing, that this thing ends as fast as possible so we could, I'm a singer as well, and I miss being on stage, and I totally understand that. And it's a bit it's getting very tiring not to be able to express yourself with music with other people.
In this town, they even karaoke. So many people like to go to sing karaoke. It's finished. Nowadays, you have to have your own microphone. If you go sing anywhere, if you don't bring your own mic, they won't let you sing.
Yeah. Can you tell me, because I saw like the songs that you released on SoundCloud, there's some that were released maybe four months ago. There's some recent stuff there. Can you tell me any current projects or upcoming projects you'd like to share with us?
Sure. we have a thing that VAMPs called a concert series. In a couple of weeks, we're going to be playing on film, on tape, in a theater on Granville Island. It's a 5-piece band with Graham and Dave on drums. Dave Summington, he's an awesome drummer who just plays with his hands on pads. So that's coming up in a couple of weeks. And I'm really hope to get back in the studio and finish some of the stuff.
So no album, or do you have an album coming up, or?
Well, I'm still in the process of putting it together. Absolutely. But that'll be my goal eventually, sure.
I wish that for you.
Thank you.
After I kind of, we painted the picture of your career a bit and your situation and how you recovered. I'm sure there's, like you said, at VAMS, there's a lot of people who had situations, similar situations happen to them. And I'm wondering if you have any not questions, but any advice for people who are going through something similar and they need that extra push to find the will to get better.
Good question. Okay, willpower, it takes time. Nobody has willpower by gift. You have to develop it and work it. Like when I first went to the gym, I could only like do 5 minutes on the machine and not be exhausted. But now I can do more. So every day I try to improve myself. And I think don't give up, don't get discouraged. And look at stories like me. I didn't ever think I'd be playing bass again or even speaking or having normal life. But slowly, by nature, we heal. Our bodies are made to survive and adapt. And we just need to help it. And that's my advice. Be your own doctor, your own therapist, your own nutritionist, your own personal trainer.
I think that can apply to just everybody.
Exactly.
It's really a concept that applies to everybody. To myself, I think it's inspiring to me too. So thank you for sharing that precious piece of advice. Where can we hear your music and follow you?
Well, there's my SoundCloud page. A lot of it is still in the demo stage. I'm still, working the final mixes and mastering. So it's always a work in progress.
Okay. So, you're on SoundCloud. So do you have the URL?
Yeah.
Are you on?
Can I share it here?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, let's see. Give me a second, please.
All links are on Facebook. They're on the Facebook post.
Okay, do I put it? Sorry, I put it in chat. The link.
Perfect, thank you. Mark, it was a pleasure talking to you. I really appreciated you sharing your experience with me and with everybody here as well. So I'm just going to go out to it's the end of the webinar. So I'd like to thank everybody for watching the first episode of Music Industry Talks with Mark Ash. If you enjoyed our event, hit like, comment, and share the video. Thanks to our speaker, for sharing his story with us today. Thanks to Factor Canada, the Vancouver Adapted Music Society, and to all of you from home for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the Foundation's mailing list for updates on our upcoming events at syncopatednoise.org. And follow our social media pages at Syncopated Noize on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Music Industry Talk will be back next Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on Facebook Live. Thank you for watching.
Thank you so much.